Okay, now we have Rabbi Mendel Kaplan here to help us get in the mood for Sukkot. Good morning, Rabbi Kaplan. How are you
Good
today?
morning, Martin. Good morning, Toronto. It is a pleasure to be on air with you always, especially on this very, very unique and special day, Erev Chag HaSukkot. And as we prepare for this extraordinary holiday, in which, despite it all, we, the Jewish people, will do our best to be besimcha, to experience a sense of elevation and joy, because that's what Torah asks of us, and that's the right thing to do. And when we do what is good and right, invariably it brings us the blessings that we hope and yearn for. So the Sukkah especially helps us to deal with the challenges that we find ourselves surrounded by. I don't have to elaborate on the challenges that our beloved brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael are facing today, and the difficulties that have punctuated life in Israel for almost a full Hebrew year. Shmini Atzeret will be that first yahrzeit. October 7th has already passed. And it's unfortunately not only difficult in Israel, and today's National Post, the Israeli government has highlighted the fact that Canada, our own country, which was in which the Jewish people have made so many contributions and contributed so much towards Canadian life over the last number of decades, has become a hotbed of anti-Semitism. And the highest levels of government have allowed anti-Semitic sentiment to go unchecked, calling it freedom of expression. The same government that crushed the spirit of the truckers because they wanted certain freedoms has refused to rein in the ugly anti-Semitism that has found a comfort zone in public thoroughfares and in universities here in our country and right here in Toronto. And this is something that's extremely concerning. Just the other day, I was down at Union Station to pick up my son from yeshiva, and I cannot tell you I didn't have any trepidation or think twice because I'm a visible Jew. Well, guess what? Last night at 6 p.m. there was a massive anti-Semitic demonstration right across the street from Union Station, and I have to tell you, I was looking at that video on social media and thanking God that I wasn't there to pick up my son from Union Station at the same time. And then I don't wear an Israeli flag. I'm not in any way identified with the state of Israel per se. It makes no difference. These demonstrators hate the Jewish people. They hate Judaism, and that is a war against us as a nation and a people. And this is something of profound concern. Israel has become the Jew amongst the nations. Anybody who denies that is simply being unrealistic and dangerously optimistic. Optimism which is not rooted in reality, and as such is something which does not contribute towards peace and well-being. So in midst of all this, in midst of what our brothers and sisters are dealing with in the Holy Land of Eretz Yisrael, in the midst of what we face here in Canada, Sukkot arrives. And Sukkot brings with it, as the Rebbe highlights in a letter that he wrote on Erev, on the days before Sukkot in the year of 1950, the Rebbe pointed out that the Sukkah, unlike any other mitzvah in the Torah, has something attached to it. And it is an awareness, a sense of knowledge, what we call in Hebrew, yediyah. Namely, the Torah says, you will dwell in the Sukkah for 7 days, Lema'an yedu dorotechem, so that your future generations will know. And it has to be noted that the fulfillment of this mitzvah, without mindfulness and without knowledge, knowing that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, and that God saved and protected and provided for us in the most extraordinary of circumstances, millions of people stranded in a desert. It would have taken 2,000 tractor trailers of supplies a day to be able to sustain a population that size in the desert. And we were able to not only survive but flourish for 40 years. So we sit in the sukkah, we expose ourselves to the elements. It's cold, We hope and pray it's not going to rain, and we might be a little bit uncomfortable. It's a shelter, but a very flimsy shelter at that. And we have to know. We have to know that ultimately this is symbolic of Hashem's shielding and protecting us, of Hashem's providing for us, even when the circumstances don't seem to broadcast an optimistic message for tomorrow. It is it's telling and compelling that of all the mitzvot in the Torah, although kavanah, intention, is always a nice thing to have, it's not actually a part of the mitzvah. And even when it comes to the mitzvah of tzitzit or tefillin, which are supposed to have a zikaron, a remembrance, the word yediyah is not used. Here we talk about laman yedu. And yedu isn't just to remember something, it means a profound awareness. After all, when the Torah uses the term yediyah or knowledge, it's used to describe the first human intimacy, the intimacy between Adam and Eve. Adam yada es Chava. So we're talking about a profoundly moving experience. That's the kind of knowledge we should be having. And the knowledge is not something that we simply read about in a book, but the knowledge is something that we experience together. We experience this together. We sit in our sukkah. We fortify our faith and our trust in Hashem, and we know that we are an Am Olam, an eternal nation. And despite the many, many detractors and haters out there, we shall live forever. Am Yisrael will continue to soldier on. Am Yisrael will continue to be triumphant. And Am Yisrael will continue to illuminate the world with a message of holiness and positivity, with the ideas and ideals of sensitivity and compassion and God consciousness. And even if statistically we don't see a way out, and we don't know how this is going to end, and we can't see a positive prognosis because of the numbers and the overwhelming and daunting circumstances and challenge, both our brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael and Jewish people around the world, Sukkot gives us that affirmation that we have survived, we will survive, and in the end, we will be triumphant. Be'ezrat Hashem, there will be good news. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we will reach a better place. I'm hoping and praying that unfolds in the most glorious of ways with the rise of Sukkot David that will shelter our entire nation together. In it, we will celebrate. In it, we will unite. In it, we will experience the greatest closeness to God that will ever be known to humanity in the third Beis HaMikdash. May it be, b'mheira u'b'yameinu, may that message of peace and prosperity, may that wonderful new reality become materialized and actualized before our very eyes. B'mheira u'b'yameinu, speedily and in our days. Amen. I wish you, Martin, and all of our listeners, a Chag HaSukkot Sameach, a happy and uplifting and inspiring holiday. I remind all of our listeners that the candle lighting this evening in the GTA is the unlikely number of 613. What a great number, the number of mitzvot that we have. So 613 this evening is candle lighting. 613 tomorrow evening, and of course I'm not going to be on the radio tomorrow, neither will you, because it's Yom Tov, is at 713. So it's exactly an hour later. 613 this evening, 713 Be'ezrat Hashem tomorrow evening, and on Friday evening, candle lighting will be at 6:10 p.m. We have a chance to create a trilogy of illumination, 3 nights in a row, in which we can kindle our Shabbat and Yom Tov candles, of course from a pre-existing flame on Shabbat and Yom Tov, in which we can fill our homes, our sukkah, our community, and in fact our city and the whole world with the light of Yiddishkeit that will heal and transform us for the very best. I hope to hear and share the best of news, and I look forward, Be'ezrat Hashem, to continuing to share messages of Sukkot and its simcha, its uplifting joy, next week as we continue to celebrate this wonderful holiday.
Well, thank you so much, Rabbi Kaplan. I'm sure all listeners join me in wishing you a Chag Sameach, the same thing, also a Shabbat Shalom, a good Shabbos. They all go together, and we will talk again. I guess it'll be Monday the next time we're on together. Okay.
Looking forward. Chag Sameach and Shabbat Shalom.
We'll talk to you again very soon. Okay.
Thanks for joining. Good Yom Tov and a good Shabbos. May we hear and share Besurot Tovot. Amen. Kol Tov.